Yes, he would. And as I've said, if you study a little bit of the political history of this country, the opposition parties uniting is not as difficult as ruling parties uniting. In opposition, people are sort of see their eyes clearly, as they say in the local expression. The desire is simply to win power, and the desire to win power is usually takes over people's personal ambitions. It doesn't remove the personal ambition, or it doesn't remove personal scores, but it just suppresses it for a little bit until power is won, and then you see those expressions again. So Dr. Bawumia also has the kind of personality that aids this unity conversation. Even during the critical periods of 2023, 2024, you would observe that in his campaign, he was able to unite to his campaign some people who did not like Akufo-Addo. I refer to the likes of Dr. Richard Anane of Ishaiso in Kumasi. For instance, he has been one of the principal opponents of Akufo-Addo in the MPP, but he was a big supporter of Mahamudu Bawumia. Some people who supported Kufuor and the Kufuor-Akufo-Addo factions of '98, you will see some of them who were in the Kufuor faction supporting Mahamudu Bawumia. So he seems to have that kind of personality. So the MPP is lucky to have a person at this time who is able to quickly reorganize that. So the visit by Paul Afoko I saw in Kojompini, I wasn't surprised. It is two reasons pulling them. First, Dr. Bawumia's personality. And secondly, the NPP is in opposition. So there's enough time to express their view. There's enough time to vent. And Dr. Bawumia seems to be indicating that he has the listening ear and the heart for one to come and vent to about whatever has happened in the MPP. Because whatever has happened in the MPP, Dr. Bawumia at the end of this campaign has also suffered some. And so he's no longer the person who people looked at as having been given an advantage in 2023, 2024. Now, having come from that advantageous position, now into the doldrums, fighting this campaign where he was a target of 5 presidential candidates, things were said, things were done, things were heard. So Dr. Bawumia has also experienced what some of the victims, those who call themselves victims in the MPP, have experienced. So it is aiding him to give a big heart and a big ear to all of these people. That's going to put him in a very unique position to be able to unite the party. The other reason why the MPP is eager about uniting is that they are beginning to see clearly from the data that the 2024 election was not lost on the basis of competition with the NDC. No, certainly not. It was lost on internal disunity and an inability, therefore, to bring their votes out. If you like, take the elections.
Really? The people who didn't come out to vote didn't come because of this? Was there disunity issue?
Yeah, the disunity factored in it. So if I'm MPP and I'm in Ashanti region and I don't like what is happening in Accra, I don't like the way some parliamentary candidate has been imposed on me, all of the I don't like things is what caused people to stay at home. Okay. Now, if you look at the results of the election and you realize that if the MPP had maintained their results of 2020 election, they actually would have beaten the NDC in spite of everything that happened. Then if you look at the circumstances of the election and you realize that there will be very few people, if not negligible, who in 2024 wanted John Dramani Mahama to win or did not want the MPP to win, who will stay at home. The verve, the emotion, and the motivation was for the opposition, so that if there were a stay-at-home candidate as a result of the data, we can safely conclude that a lot of the stay-at-home candidates were MPP voters. They were not NDC voters. If there were 2.2 million and they were NDC voters, and you take 1.9 million of that and add it to Mahamudu Bawumia's vote, see what happens to the election results. So the MPP are coming to the realization that this defeat was not about competition and was not about a weaker brand. It was about settling our own internal difficulties. That if we had settled our internal difficulties and gone to the election even the same way we went to 2020, that realization is making people see that, look, let us align with a new leader. He has a great heart, he has a great vision, and the MPP do not even have to beat the drums on competence. They don't have to. If you hear Dr. Bawumia assess the problems of the country and you hear his prescriptions, you clearly know that he's competent. This issue about he's a liar because he said exchange rate was going to be this and exchange rate is this over an 8-year period, which was useful propaganda that was applied. It's no longer available to be applied. We have all seen the intervening matters which may have occasioned this thing. Some may believe it, some may not believe it. But certainly, you cannot pick Dr. Bawumia and call him incompetent in Ghanaian political parlance. That is not going to happen in 2028. You can say it however you want to say in 2024. In 2028, it's going to be a different kettle of fish. We are beginning to see the issues that are happening in the government. We are beginning to see the issues at Cocoa Board. And a few issues are going to come, which will then put into proper context the whole performance of the MPP in 2023, 2024. It's going to get into proper context. And when that context comes, Dr. Bawumia will stand tall.
I heard you before the election, you were concerned about Dr. Bawumia's percentage win, or the percentage he won by. It has reduced from what he did the last time, which means you have at least 40% of the delegates rejecting him. How does he get them to come around? The fact that their leaders are coming around, does it mean they automatically come around? The reasons they didn't vote for him, will they follow him now? Because, yeah, he's a guy who has been produced. Kennedy has rallied around all of them. Do you foresee that easily happening before 2028?
Well, that has happened before, so it can happen again, but it's not easy. It's not something that will easily happen. But because it has happened before, we can assume that it may happen again. Now, the competition of 2026 was quite different from 2024. Dr. Bawumia was 2023. Dr. Bawumia was opened up. He had stronger competition. The arrival of Brian Achampong was not part of the 2023 conversation, and Brian Achampong seems to have done quite well in mobilizing people. But if you look at the spread of Dr. Bawumia's votes, even at 57%, you will realize that he's improving in some of the important areas. Politics, internal party politics, is also very important with demographics. So if you are in an MPP contest, you are coming from an election where there had been stay-home voters, particularly in your strongholds in Eastern and Ashanti. You are engaging Eastern and Ashanti and seeing how Dr. Bawumia is performing there to determine whether he's able to now bring out the vote or not. If you look at the data in that way, you'll be applauding Dr. Bawumia because you will see that he gained significant ground in the stronghold of the MPP, which is in Ashanti, which has always been the concern, that will Dr. Bawumia be able to rally the votes in the base of the MPP. In 2024, that didn't happen. And everybody is trying to see whether that can happen. As soon as that happens, he wins the election, that's for sure. As soon as Dr. Bawumia or an MPP candidate is able to rally around. In 2000's election, I was a reporter at the time, I was monitoring it, and I went to Dr. Kwame Amakoto-For's house, and he was not paying attention to the election. And I asked him why. He said, oh, but with 72% Ashanti, it's over. He's not interested in any more results. The results had not quite come. But he was in his house in Kumasi and he said that, oh, it's done. Once he saw that Ashanti has voted 72% for Kufuor, it's over, it's a done deal. If Dr. Bawumia is able to rally that, he actually wins the election. No ifs or buts about it. So that's really the point of inquiry. If you look at that, you get some hope that it looks like he's spreading better in those areas.
Joe Jackson.
That Dr. Bawumia has a credibility crisis. The credibility crisis and a trust issue, a trust deficit. In fact, a credibility deficit and a trust deficit.
Is it has or had?
No, has. You understand?
Even now?
Even now.
And will have.
You see, and it depends on how he wants to approach it. Now, you see, when you compare with President Mahama, for example, there's the need. The two are not the same, but the approach is for me what is critical. The difficulty, and it's not easy to say that I'm part of a team as vice president, but I don't want to criticize my boss, the president, but I must show that there's a distinction between my style, and it's always been difficult for any vice president to show a distinction between his style and his boss's style.
Atta Mills suffered that.
He suffered that, but Atta Mills had to evolve by showing that he was able to disagree with his boss but still respect his boss. And that was the transformation that made Ghanaians begin to look at. You remember the issue of Poodle, where he was the tag was that he was Rollins's Poodle. Until he was able to show that I have the grit to be able to distance myself from what I deem to be the excesses of my former boss, and that I'm a man of my own and can stand on my own. Then Ghanaians began to see that no, this was somebody who could be differentiated from Because you remember his famous statement, I'll consult Rolling Stone. That was he was demonized for it. So he had to go through the painful exercise of being able to show that he was able to distance himself from. That is the problem of Dr. Bawumia. You were head of the economic management team. How do you go out there and tell Ghanaians that even though you were head of the economic management team, the decisions, economic decisions that hurt Ghanaians, you are not responsible for them? There is a lack of candor, the lack of the ability to take responsibility for the actions of your government and say that, look, there is nothing wrong in saying that, look, there were issues and problems with some of the policies that the NPP put out. I am responsible for them as head of the economic management team. I can assure you that I have learned from that position, and these are the changes and reforms I intend to bring. Okay. He wants to run away from the negatives of governance that was in the NPP and take credit for the positives. So you hear him talk about digitalization. He is responsible for the digitalization of the Ghanaian economy. What about the economic pains that Ghanaians faced? He needs to be able to, and you see, what even hurt him more was going around the country and pretending as if there was nothing economic he wanted to discuss. When in the past, you were known for economic lectures.
There was a finance minister who was doing that.
And now you hear the stories. His spokesperson that is during the primary elections kept pointing at the former finance minister as being the one who was, and that he was not even listening to the cabinet and all that. Look, it's either he frontally deals with the baggage of the Akufo-Addo presidency, and it is clear that Ghanaians have not forgiven the NPP for the economic pain that they went through. If you face that frontally and tell yourself that, just like doing so, President Mahama said, look, I am responsible. I will fix it. Ghanaians, as we all know, can be forgiven. We are not persons that are vindictive. But what we don't like is to be taken for a ride. What we don't like are, if I say this, honest is strong. What we don't like is persons who think that we can be taken for a ride. Okay. He has to demonstrate that, one, he can take responsibility for the decisions that were taken in the NPP, which were painful. Okay. Number two, he must apologize for those decisions. Even Rawlings, at some point, when after everything in the PNDC era, he came to the realization that there were excesses, and he apologized for them. Very well. There is nothing that maybe will suit Ghanaians than for us to get a speech from Dr. Bawumia telling us that, for example, the persons that were killed post-elections, we are sorry for it. The pain that was caused for, for economic hardships that were please, when did he do that? Have you heard him make a speech and say that I, Dr. Bawumia,
you don't seem to want
hold on, so I am responsible. Have you ever heard him take? You don't seem to want it. Have you ever heard him take responsibility?
When you were talking about President Mahama, you massage the issues nicely about doing so, and people are forgiving and all that.
You know one thing. I always like. I always like. Listen, I take responsibility is different from I'm sorry. There's a big responsibility for it. I like it when
you see what's happening in London, how they are doing the Labour government.
When you were talking, I didn't know
because
I
kept quiet.
Paul. When you were
I just asked AI whether Bawumia apologized. Yes. AI says following the new Patriotic Party's loss in 2024, Dr. Bawumia issued multiple public apologies.
You see the word multiple,
and party members acknowledging governance lapses and economic challenges during this.
Listen, I said
admission of mistakes.
Hold on.
Specific regrets and all of that.
I say that as a Ghanaian voter, I have not heard President,
even though he's done it multiple times.
I haven't heard Dr. Bawumia come out
after he did it multiple times.
Paul, you have a right to analyze things the way you see it and to advise Dr. Bawumia in the like and the manner that you are doing. For me as an NDC person and for me that is good because it allows us to be able to paint him the way we want to paint. And I'm telling you, for free, that for long as he is not ready, and I'm telling you that I have not heard him, fine, you can say that he has apologized for what I'm saying, number one, I want him to take responsibility for the economic mess that the country was in.
Very well.
You understand? To be able to, and not also try to sometimes rationalize this when the fundamentals of the economy are weak. the exchange rate will expose you. Look, be man enough and admit that I said it. And that
he said it was true then, it's true now.
Did you hear his explanation?
Yes.
Did you hear his rationalization for that particular speech?
I did.
Did that amount to admission?
Please, you see, I say as
what is the rationalization that you did? I don't understand.
He was asked.
He explained that he was right then, right now.
Play that for them.
You're saying that the fundamentals are not.
Yeah, but he did a comparative analysis.
Tell us that the dynamics of the situation at this time and this time.
Yes.
You think Ghanaians are
That's
fools?
what he said.
But when you stay at home and they pay you,
Lord.
and you take water and you don't pay, and you take the pistol and you don't pay, something that has never happened in the history of Ghana, you ignore that one.
And then you come back later and you tax me for it. We're not silly.
Yeah, but at the time, if they had taxed you at the time, we will die. We all thought that we would die. When in the history of Ghana has any president allowed Ghanaians to stay home and pay them? Sometimes let's put the truth on the table. That's what happened in Ghana. People were asked to stay home and they were paid.
There was a COVID. There's a COVID.
Cocoa farmers you have promised that you can't pay them. Akufo-Addo paid Ghanaians to sit at home and pay them, and you have ignored that.
Listen, Paul, you can continue with this way of whitewashing Bawumia and making it look like Bawumia.
Tell me what I'm saying is not true.
Oh.
The Ghanaians stay at home and get paid.
You see,
the Ghanaians use water and not pay. The Ghanaians use electricity and not pay.
You spoke. I disagreed with a lot of the things you said, but I gave you the respect of not interrupting.
When you are done.
It's not fair.
When you are done.
I'm telling you that, I'm saying that. Listen, as your political opponent, it makes a lot of sense for you to sometimes pay attention to some of the things that we say, because this, I think, is free.
Okay.
Dr. Bawumia is not a bad person. You understand? He has been vice president. For whatever it is, he has held the second highest position in this country. He was a heartbeat away from the presidency. You have a duty to what? To bring him back as a presidential candidate and to let him win an election. I am telling you that one of the perceptions out there that you need to kill is the fact that the man does not want to take responsibility for some of the hard decisions that were taken.
Well.
Those decisions were hard.
Thank you,
and they were not pleasant.
Thank you,
but you
Kpakpo.
see, what Ghanaians want to see is the fact that this is somebody, when the times are tough and he has taken a decision, he will accept it.
Very well.
And so when someone like President Mahama was hit with doom, so one of the things that the speeches that he gave, which resonated very well with Ghanaians, was the fact that I am responsible for it and I'll fix it.
Ended there. Thank you, Fifi Buafo.
That's not even correct.
It didn't resonate.
That's not correct.
It didn't resonate.
But
he came back.
One second,
Can we hear Fifi, please?
If you continue the way you are continuing.
I was seated next to you when we were talking.
Let's hear Fifi.
Sorry.
Nick Kpakpo, John Mahama did not admit that he caused him so. John Mahama is the one who blamed charging of mobile phones as the reason